flapping its wings. Sometimes it can even be on the road and strutting its stuff as if it's on a catwalk. It's the wara wara. Sometimes, not very often, we find them perched on one of these poles or on one of the cactuses that get the fruit. I didn't give you the name of the cactus that gives the fruit. Those are called the kadushi cactus. So maybe we'll see the national bird. It's a bright orange bird, beautiful. It is related to your oriole. And then we also have the little yellow belly, which we call with the nickname the sugar thief, because the little yellow belly loves to come where you are and steal a little bit of your sugar if you're sitting outside drinking your coffee or tea with a little bit of sugar in it. So let's see if we get to spot a little yellow belly. Of course, I cannot forget to mention to you the flamingo, which we are hopefully going to spot at the end of the trip. We never know in advance because they're free birds. We're not in a zoo. And so they go back and forth, so we never know when we're gonna spot them or not. So as we go up on this hill, I would like you to look to the left first when you see a bright pink house, and then also to the right after that to see the ocean. So now to the left, now to the right. Was that good exercise for your neck? Okay, I just wanted to point out to you that at this point the island is actually only 5 miles wide. That's why you can see the ocean on either side. Because the island is kind of like the shape of a peanut, squished in the middle, or like a figure 8. So you probably also saw a couple of those big windmills that generate energy. We have 2 of those parks here, one on this western side and one on the eastern side. And actually those few windmills supply us with 25% of the energy we need every day. And why are they located there, right by the ocean? Because we do have a northeasterly wind, a trade wind, that we can count on just about 360 days a year. And the coast to our right is actually the north coast already. And that's where it is always windy. Ahead of the bus, you can already start seeing our highest peak. Very pretentiously, we call it St. Christopher Mountain. However, it is just a hill because the height is just 1,000 feet. And we're headed straight towards that hill all the way to the very western and northern tip of the island. And it looks a little bit like a volcano, doesn't it? Because it has this like indent in the middle, but it is not a volcano. So what else can we expect to see on the trip? Hopefully some of our lizards, because we have lots of lizards. Tiny brown ones, but also a little bit larger ones that measure about 10 inches, of which the male is actually blue, and so we call that lizard the blah blah. Are you going to remember all these weird names? Wara Wara and blah blah. And then we have, of course, our iguana. And the iguana can reach up to 3 feet long, and it is bright green, but it's a little bit of a chameleon. As our island grows drier and drier, it will also become a little bit gray in color instead of green. The babies of the iguana are actually a color that looks like a poison, and that's as green as the little babies are. Then of course I hope to be able to spot some goats or some sheep, because believe it or not, on the island we have free roaming goats and free roaming sheep. It is not legal, mind you, but the only time you get someone to complain about the goats is when you hit a goat with your car, because its owner will show up right away. We do have horses, cows, donkeys, unfortunately lots of stray dogs and stray cats, because the place where they used to fix the cats and the dogs, they're not doing it anymore. So unfortunately, a lot of people who don't want the puppies put the puppies in a box and they put them in the wilderness. So that's pretty sad. Very, very sad. So we've reached a little village here called Curacao. And Curacao is not that old. Curacao, there you see the stray dogs right there crossing the street. You can tell they're always roaming around looking for food.
Они бедные, жрать нечего, не держат.
So this little village is only about 25 years old. The government, this is also a government project of houses. It's always a combination of houses that you're allowed to buy, but they're very economical because they're all the same and built very effectively. And this little village also has a school and a church, and of course doctor's office and all of that. They're pretty much independent as a little village.
Какой-то непонятный. Не это самое. Неухоженный, очень неухоженный. Нет, траву не кушает, ничего не делает. Запущенный.
Notice that most of the houses we pass by have something that surrounds the yard. It has either a wall or a fence. All the houses have something to mark off their property. Part of it is because of those free roaming goats, because they want to come into your yard and eat your plants. Now, just beyond this unfinished building, you see kind of like a pile of rubble by the cactus. It's not actually a pile of rubble. They are the ruins of what we call a slave wall here. Now, the wall doesn't belong to the slaves. The wall was actually built by slaves back in the colonial times. Just beyond, on the left again, this bus stop, you can see a little bit taller remnant of the ruins. Just by the cactus here, you can see a little slave wall again. This slave wall is made out of coral stones. We do not have a quarry on the island, and we cannot make bricks. So the only building material we had in colonial days was the coral stone. And the coral stone is literally pieces of coral that during storms break off and are deposited on the shores by the waves. So when all the people from Europe arrived here, they found piles and piles of these stones laying on the beach. So they figured that's free building material for us. And as long as you pile those stones on top of one another, which takes very big talent, by the way, because you have to make them so, just like mosaic, so they don't crumble. And they can last for centuries. So all of our colonial buildings are built like that, with coral stone. Up on the hill ahead, you can see like a little white pillar on the left. It kind of looks like a pharaoh, but if you look closely, it's a pillar with a fist and a broken chain. That is a memorial pillar. We have 7 of them because in 1795 we actually had a slave revolt. Not many people know about it. There's a movie about it now. And those pillars are placed on locations where something memorable happened during the revolt. And on that location is the location where the last and the bloodiest battle took place and where the revolt was crushed by the soldiers. So I need to tell you a little bit more about our history. The first people were the indigenous, as I said before. The first Europeans to set foot here were the Spaniards, and that was in 1499, right along the times of Columbus. He never set foot here, but Amerigo Vespucci did, and so did Alonso de Ojeda, who is credited with finding this island, and then someone called Juan de la Cosa. The Spaniards, when they arrived here, they encountered the natives, and they were shocked because of their height. And they said, wow, this is the island of the giants. In actuality, those natives were only about 20 feet taller than the Spaniards. Not 20 feet, sorry. 2/3 of a foot. Imagine 2 feet. They would be avatars. But the Spaniards were tiny because the Spaniards had my size. So first we got the name Island of the Giants. When they couldn't find any gold and silver, we became very sad. We got this very, very sad nickname, the Useless Island. Yes. It hurts my heart. So up on the hill, a little bit to the right, you can see a very, very typical house that the Dutch built during their reign here. They are called landhuis, or country house. The Dutch built as many as 100 of them in colonial times. Only 60 of them are still intact. This one is called Asuncion. They always built them on a hilltop because they want to optimize the breeze. And also from the hilltop, you could overlook your property surrounding the hill. We're going underneath a little bit of oh, that was a wara wara on the street.
Yeah, across the street.
It flies away too fast, y'all. So this tunnel of greenery, it is actually made up of a local tree called the manzanilla tree, and it is actually a poisonous tree. What's poisonous about the tree is the little apples. When it is in season, it gets little apples about the size of a quarter, and they are lemon yellow in color. So here I want to show you, as opposed to that big house on the hill, the house that the people who freed themselves or were freed after abolition of slavery in 1863, they built these houses in the countryside. So this is a typical kunuku house. What's typical about it is the thickness of the walls, the shape of the walls that are going up like a pyramid, slanted, the rooftop that is made out of corn stalk, and then in front of the house is also the fence made out of cactus. Also in front of the house you can see the aloe vera which they planted on the right hand side of the door. So when you didn't have enough money to build yourself a proper fence or a wall around your yard, you would make the fence out of the cactus. Now this cactus looks very similar as the one that grows tall to like up to 6 feet, but it's not the same one. This one is called the datu, and the one that opens up like a candelabra with many branches, that one is called kadushi. So the house is built with the coral stone, some twigs, but also, don't get too disgusted, with dried cow dung. Because the cow dung keeps the flies and the mosquitoes outside of the house. That little house only has 2 rooms. One is for the parents and one is the living room. The little kids would sleep on mats on the floor in the main room. And that's how they lived, mostly outside of the house. They would make sure they had a very nice shady tree, and most of what they did happened outside the house. Only for sleeping did they stay inside. This yellow house on the left on the hill is also one of the old houses. It is now a restaurant that serves only Creole local food.